Welcome back, everybody, to the Prayin and Slayin podcast. My name is Aaron, your host, and today we have another Operation Conservation Series episode with Miss Baylee Taylor from NWTF. She's one of the people I've worked with at NWTF over my years in the outdoors industry and helped develop some partnerships and product opportunities, things like that for fundraising events through various companies in NWTF. We're excited to hear about what she does and brings to the table when it comes to conservation, the NWTF mission. And she just got back from a trip with her husband to South Dakota where they got their very first Merriam birds, and we are stoked to be able to hear that story. With that, guys, let's go ahead and jump in with Miss Baylee Taylor from NWTF. Well, Baylee, welcome to the Prayin and Slayin podcast. We've had the pleasure of knowing each other for a handful of years here, working with partnerships with various outdoors industry companies, and just excited to have you on today to learn what you do at NWTF and kind of how that folds into the big picture. You know, we know a lot about NWTF as an organization as a whole, but the people behind the scenes that make the stuff happen is what gets me excited. So definitely excited to hear what you do there, how it impacts the mission. And then sounds like you've got an awesome story for us to hear that you just got back from on a Merriam hunt in South Dakota.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here and can't wait to talk about that hunt. It was super, super exciting for sure.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about what you do at NWTF, how long you've been there, all the good stuff that way.
Yeah. Um, so I've been with the NWTF for going on 4 years now. And so right now I am a vendor account specialist. So I work with our merchandise management team, um, getting product for our banquets and such. But I grew up in South Georgia, hunting with my dad. And now we live up near Augusta, Georgia. Me and my husband, who is actually a wildland firefighter for our forestry commission here in Georgia. Um, and yeah, it's just super exciting to work for a conservation organization. Growing up in the outdoors, it kind of is home to me.
Yeah, absolutely. You said your dad had you on, what was it, 20 some odd year turkey hunting career now you're on?
This is my 21st season, actually.
That's pretty incredible. That's awesome.
Yes.
No, very cool. What age did you get your first bird?
So I started hunting at 6 and I didn't get my first one until I was 12. So it was
Okay.
definitely a long stretch there for him and but he made it happen finally.
Heck yeah. There's a lot that goes into getting the kid out hunting. I've got a 3-year-old now and he's watching me shoot my bow and we watch hunting TV and he's got his pretend gun. He shoots the animals off, on the screen or whatever, but he's
Yeah.
he's into it. But that'll be a whole new ball game getting him out there because I think the last thing he understands is how to be quiet, which is kind of rule number one. So I can only imagine all the little things that have to come together to get a bird for a
For
6-year-old,
sure.
let alone even a 12-year-old. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I took my 6-year-old cousin out for the first time this year and I was like, I understand why it took so long.
Whole new challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty darn cool, man. So you've been hunting turkeys pretty much your whole life, which is awesome, and sounds like your whole family's into it. And then what brought you to NWTF? How did that connection happen, and what brought you to the job you have now?
Yeah. So me and my husband were, fresh out of college and we were looking for jobs up in this area because that's where a lot of my dad's family is from and kind of wanted to be a little closer to them. And so we were just looking and this job was a different position then that I applied for. It popped up on his searches and he was like, "Would you work for the National Wild Turkey Federation?" And I was like, you know what? That would kind of be full circle for me because um my papa actually helped start the Georgia chapter.
Oh wow.
So we've been an NWTF family my entire life and so um I applied and had some friends that worked there and they put in a good word for me and after about a year and a half I swapped positions to this one that I'm in now. So, yeah, it's been great experience so far.
That's incredible. No, very cool. Yeah, it's always neat when you can get back in that conservation space. I was a park ranger prior to working in the outdoors world, and when I got swapped over, it was kind of like that little bit of a piece of my heart just got cut off and set out there. But it's like if I didn't take the opportunity to jump into that job I had previously, it was like I probably would have kicked myself down the road anyway. But then
For
same
sure.
thing, kind of coming full circle, being able to work with the conservation organizations and really end up kind of specializing in just building those partnerships and things. It's like the biggest piece of what I love about outdoors work is working with you guys. So it's pretty neat you found it the same way. Did you guys
Yeah.
go to did you go to school for something in the outdoor space, or is that something you went to school
So,
different for?
yeah, I actually went to Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College down in Tifton, Georgia, and got my natural resource management degree. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I knew there was something I liked about you. Yeah, I got mine in Parks and Natural Resources too, is what I've got a degree in. So that's pretty incredible, man. And it brought you to
Yeah,
NWTF, and never looking back. This will be a career for you for life, you think?
for sure. I will definitely, whether it ends up with the NWTF or not, I will stay in conservation. That is for sure. But I really kind of have a home here at NWTF for now.
I love it. I love it. So I guess let's break down NWTF a little bit. You're the first person from NWTF we've had the chance to have on. So I guess give us kind of the 10,000 foot overview of the mission behind NWTF, and where, people's dollars go, where the partnership efforts go, volunteer efforts, all that good stuff.
For sure. So the National Wild Turkey Federation was founded in the 1973 by Tom Rogers. The organization itself is dedicated to the conservation of the wild turkey and the preservation of the hunting heritage. Today, we actually have 49 active state chapters, and then that kind of trickles down into about 1,500 local chapters that put
Oh
on
wow.
fundraising events or outreach and education events. So it's definitely grown since 1973 with just, the South Carolina chapter, and then it kind of took off from there. Alaska is our only state that we don't have an active chapter in right now.
That's pretty awesome. Well, very
Yeah.
cool. And I guess break that down too, because I kind of forgotten that piece. So you guys do have state level and local chapter level. So, I think when a lot of people, myself included, think about, organizations like yours, we know about the local chapters typically, or the banquet level stuff, and then national, the corporate things, the trade shows, things like that. So what's the difference at the state level? Like, how does that differ from a state chapter to a local chapter?
So our state chapters, they manage the
You're
whole state, but they have a super fund and they manage that money, and then they work with local conservation organizations and landowners with our district biologist. And they kind of put boots on the ground at more of the state level. And they have a state chapter event once a year. Um, most of them do. I know Georgia does. And then they just kind of break it down. Us at the national level, we have those more larger initiatives, and then the state just kind of breaks it down into the smaller local levels.
Awesome, very cool. So do you guys, you mentioned you guys have biologists. I'm assuming there's are on-staff biologists. 'Cause I know some organizations have on staff, some strictly contract that stuff out through like companies, or even state level biologists, things like that belong to the state they live in. So you guys, you got your national level. It sounds like probably more into, I know you can help break this down, but more into the like government level stuff, policies, things like that. I would imagine you probably deal with the national level. State says, okay, we're looking at the state of Iowa, for example. That's where I grew up. So like, state of Iowa has, you called it a super fund maybe. So we're going to take these dollars and do projects specifically here through our biologists, through landowners. They kind of make the partnerships happen. And then how does a local chapter make impact? Do they just kind of take those dollars at their level that maybe get distributed and find local projects, or how does the local chapter impact there?
Yeah, so our local chapters, we typically have one or two events that fundraise for national dollars. And then they also get to keep back a portion of that to put on fundraising events for education and outreach. So we have our Jakes, our Wheeling Sportsmen, and our Women in the Outdoors, which is kind of under the umbrella right now of the R3 initiative. So that recruitment, retention, and reactivation. So they can put on those events that kind of reaches their communities specifically.
Awesome, very cool. No, I love that. And so let's take let's back up a little bit and get into your role. So you kind of make you in a lot of ways, the reason I wanted to have you on is you kind of make a lot of this stuff happen, because it takes partnerships with outdoors companies, products, custom things that you guys only offer at your events, things like that, to distribute out to the local chapter fundraising, state chapter fundraising, even national level fundraising. And you're kind of that puzzle piece that seems to be where it all meets. So I guess talk to us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis and how that plays into the big picture.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm part of the merchandise management team, and I have two great coworkers who do the same thing that I do. We work with our vendors to ensure that we have um, unique items specific to the NWTF, whether it be color or logo or a new item that's coming out that they want to showcase with us. Um, and we put those items together for our banquet core package. So, we talked about our local events and we have around 1,500 of those. Well, we typically order around 1,000 to 1,200 units of these specialty items for this core package, and they can use those to fundraise at their events, whether it be raffle, live auction, or silent auction. And then to kind of fill the gaps there, um, we have our preferred vendor program where we have a list of vendors and their items on our chapter portal that they can order from. And we work with those vendors directly to get that kind of set up for those chapters.
Okay. No, very cool. So it just getting cool products into the hands of cool sportsmen that are all supporting a cool cause.
Yeah,
No, that's very cool. And I just for the companies out there that may be listening, know a lot of people in the industry that listen to this podcast. If they have maybe a new product coming out, or it's a new company and they haven't partnered with NWTF yet, who do they reach out to, or what's that process look like for them to get in touch with the organization to maybe start that conversation?
for sure. So we have our email is mm@nwtf.net. And that reaches the merchandise management team. And then we will just discuss with you your items that you have and what you're wanting to contribute, and just kind of go from there and see what the role is going to fit with and whether it be preferred vendor or go towards the core package.
Awesome. Very cool. And one more time on that email address. So MM for merchandise management. What was the second part?
At nwtf.net.
So super easy. Merchandise management at NWTF.net. Cool.
Yep,
We'll
that's
put
it.
that in the show notes in case anybody wants to see that out there. Well, very cool. And that gets them in touch with your team. And I guess, as far as, your time at NWTF as a whole, I guess what's been the most fun part about your job? And then overall, like what would you say is the most rewarding piece about just being a part of that team or what you do specifically?
I think the most rewarding thing to me so far is seeing it all come together. We may play a small part in the national level of the NWTF, but getting to watch our items that we have worked so hard on over the past year make it into the hands of our volunteers and members, and just seeing their excitement about the items is really rewarding for us. And I think the most fun thing that I have done with the NWTF so far, I think would be convention. We have our 50th convention coming up this next year, and watching it grow and experience the liveliness of convention is unbeatable.
That's pretty incredible, man. Yeah, you're talking on the convention. It's that one thing I've learned really quick getting in the outdoors world is everybody talks about it doesn't matter what company you're at, who you're at. If you're talking about trade shows, NWTF National Convention comes up and it's like, dude, if you haven't been there, you have to get there, no matter what.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've been in this industry going on 11 years now, and I still have not been to the NWTF convention. So I've got to find a way to get there. But
Yes.
it's just it's an incredible show. From what I understand, there isn't a person that walks in that door and comes out not more pumped about what you guys do. And like you said, it just sounds like it's an awesome atmosphere. And I know for previous partnerships we've had with other companies, there's a ton of ways to get involved there, and you guys have a ton of events to get involved in. You have women specific, children specific, like you name it, you guys do it there, and it
Yeah.
just sounds like a great time. And I know a lot of people that just owners of companies and things that are just excited to be a part of those little raffles you guys do at night and all the different cool things. So if you up to anybody listening, if you've not been to the NWTF convention, get your tickets, get out there, it's in Tennessee, correct?
It is at the Gaylord in Nashville, Tennessee. And like I said, this is the 50th, so it's going to be a big deal. So if
That's
you
right.
want to be there, this is the year to do it.
Awesome. Well, very, very cool. And then as far as, again, outdoor industry people listening, if they haven't participated in it from a vendor perspective, from what I understand, you guys are packed year after year, so it's tough to get space. But how would you go about? Is that something you need to be an exclusive partner with NWTF to get a space there, or do you guys have opportunities for new booths year over year? How does that
Typically there is a wait list.
work?
So we give our vendors who have been with us for show after show, they get kind of priority. And then if you want to get added to the list, you can contact Natalie Daniels or her team. Um, and they'll get you set up to be on the list, or if we have an opening, get you set up to be in there next year.
Very cool. So start with the outreach and then get in touch with the right people. They'll get you on the wait list. So it's pretty
Yeah,
exclusive. That's awesome too.
it
If you got a
is.
wait list as a trade show, that's good because a lot of times in the trade show world, trade shows are hurting to find people to get there, and they're usually trying to get everybody they can. So the
Yeah,
fact you guys have a wait list just tells you how powerful the show that is. And I love that. One of the most rewarding things you said is seeing the reaction of maybe things that you've worked with or helped get a product in the door or something you've helped customize, get in the hands of one of those people, and then those dollars go to work for the NWTF's mission. And yeah, if you've never been to a conservation banquet, I'd encourage you to seek out one of those 11 or 1200 or 1500 chapters you guys have and go, because NWTF's crowd that gets there, people are just fired up about turkeys. You're going to
for
hear a
sure.
million turkey stories, and watching people get excited about bidding on items is about the most fun thing you can watch, getting two people in a bidding
Yes,
war over something. And I was at a NWTF event one time showcasing one of our products, and there was two guys all night, and they were going against each other all night about everything. Like, you could just tell, trying to see who could raise the most money for what. And there was a
for
shotgun at
sure.
the end. I can't remember what the brand of shotgun was, but had your guys' logo on it, so it's customized for that. And one guy bought it, and then he said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to donate this back." And the
I love
next
it when
guy,
they do
they
that.
had a whole nother bidding war. The price just went way up. That next guy got it. He gave it back. I think this
Yeah.
happened 3 or 4 times, and by the end of the night, it was almost like 8 or 9 thousand bucks that they raised on a shotgun, and it was all going to a youth shooting club, which was the
Oh,
neatest
that's
thing. So they were
awesome.
just trying to raise as much money as they possibly could, and I
Yeah,
still think they donated the shotgun at the very end of the night to one of the shooters at that the local club that it was supporting. So just great crowd, great cause, and it
yeah,
is one of the most fun things you can be a part of. Go eat some good food and just have fun being around like-minded people, and enjoy that place. But like you said, tons of custom stuff there too that you can't get
yeah,
anywhere else, which is neat. You guys do a
for
good job
sure.
with really fine-tuning those packages.
I think my favorite thing about this is, like you just said, regardless of if it's coming back to the NWTF or going back to one of those events like that youth shooting club, um, there's a fire there, and they
Yeah,
all are coming together to raise that money to have that goal. And I think my favorite item this year was our blow up turkey. It's actually all over Instagram and was kind of traveling around convention. And people were taking pictures with it and watching the kids get excited about it too, watching the adults get excited. It was just so much fun.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, and so we talked about the good stuff. Is there anything, maybe your level or NWTF national, like what's the biggest challenge you guys face? Obviously, we all went through, the whole COVID thing a while back, and I know that it made a lot of organizations look at things different and things like that. So that was a big challenge. But maybe post COVID, like, is there anything you guys are facing now that's like either just a turkey issue that you guys are ultra focused on maybe helping out or putting dollars towards fixing, or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. So now, post COVID, everything changed. But we updated our brand marks. We actually have co-CEOs now, Jason Burkhalter and Kurt Dyeroff, a great duo leading our company now. And that just kind of modernized our leadership structure. But we are heavily investing into research right now, addressing population declines, especially here in the Southeast. And we have done that by establishing our landscape level initiatives. Um, and then we've also established a master's stewardship program with a USDA Forest Service to increase the pace and the scale of work on federal lands. So, yeah, we have a lot of great things going on. Some of those specific to my area is the Habitat for the Hatch. So that's one of
Hmm.
our landscape level initiatives. And it is um, trying to establish 1 million acres here in the Southeast that is specific to improving nesting habitat and brood habitat that is close by to that nesting habitat. So our biologists are working with private lands and public lands to try and ensure that those turkeys and those hens have that habitat available to them, to make sure that those next generation gets to raise up and be there for us in the future.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. I know it sounds like, talking to several different conservation organizations that the research side of things is definitely a big push. So it's awesome that you guys are involved in that as well. And on the habitat side, I know I think Delta Waterfowl, they have like a Million Ducks initiative, and part of that is working with I think it's contracted biologists, but they do a lot of like trapping and stuff too. So you start talking turkeys, ground nesting birds. Obviously a huge part is the habitat, having space for them to be able to have their nests and keep them protected, and then brood and raise those young to full adults or whatever. But then on the flip side, do you guys do anything on the biologist level with like predator control, ground nest predators, things like that? Do you guys do trapping initiatives as well, or how does that work?
We don't have any specific trapping initiatives, but we do encourage everybody to get out in there and manage their land. That will better improve the survival of the turkey. And we all know that predator control is one of those things. And especially down here, I think we have seen an influx of raccoons on our lands. So we definitely encourage everybody to get out there and do those. Much needed management.
Yeah, for sure. Me and the little guy here, we just bought a couple raccoon traps and a couple foothold traps just for the heck of it on our property we had in Maryland, and tossed them out there. We ended up catching a fox. We caught a raccoon. That was kind of we just had a goal of getting one each. We did that, but then my dad was having an issue in Iowa with a raccoon in his house, so a little bit unrelated from nesting habitat, but either way, like he thought it was just one, and I think he's up to six now in like
Wow.
3 weeks. He puts it out every night. He has a new raccoon in it, so it's like, but
Yep.
the population is a huge deal, and then you start looking at like trail camera photos anywhere they're on a bait station, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of raccoons. I mean, the impact they can have on turkeys is insane. So places where you guys are at, like you said, you can just see the concentration of those animals. And if they're out there, they're not just eating corn piles. They're, going out and finding whatever they can. So they can put a
Everything
big hurt
loves
on
a
that. And
turkey egg.
that's right, exactly right. They're not going to turn it down for sure.
No, they will
Well,
not.
very cool. As far as like boots on the ground initiatives, again, me being an old park ranger, I love getting my hands dirty and getting out there and working on something. How does someone get involved? Maybe is it all through the local level or through national level? Like, how does someone maybe get involved with a habitat improvement project or like those boots on the ground things? And then also, how do they get in touch with the local chapter, maybe to just volunteer? Maybe their thing isn't hands on. Maybe it's they want to help fundraise, or maybe they like throwing parties, so the banquets are their thing. Like, how do they get involved?
Yeah, for sure. So on our website, if you go to www.nwtf.org, we do have a little contact section there. And if you use the events section, you can actually find events and get the chapter president or somebody on the committee for that local chapter. Their information will be there and they can get you in touch with the right people, whether that be the district biologist or somebody from the state chapter that's doing that hands-on stuff. So yeah.
Okay, very cool. So, like any NWTF news, chapter news, get involved. Everything's primarily hosted on your guys' website.
Yes, for sure.
Okay,
You
very
can
cool.
sign up to be a member there, and that'll get you signed up for our newsletter, all of our updates via email. So those local landscape initiatives are kind of highlighted there in our email updates. Um, and then we also send out updates on the national level as well.
Okay, very cool. And then as far as membership goes, I know a lot of them have tiered level memberships. What membership levels do you guys have? If you don't mind sharing, like what do they cost, and like what all comes with it? I know sometimes there's packages with it. Sometimes there's certain support programs they support. Like, tell us about the levels of partnership you guys have.
It is our basic level is $35. And it usually comes with some kind of incentive. Right now I think there's one for a $25 Bass Pro card that comes with your membership. And then you can go up to sponsor level, which is $250. And then each sponsor level just kind of goes up from there. And then we have life level memberships. That kind of is a cumulative of what you have donated over your lifespan of being a part of the National Wild Turkey Federation.
Very cool. Very cool. So annual level just to get started, $35, and sounds like it comes with a gift card. So who's going to complain for that when you go to buy more gear at Bass Pro Shop? That's awesome. And
Yeah.
then literally sky's the limit. However heavily you want to invest, you guys have an option for that. Do you
Yeah.
guys get a lot of like businesses that partner up with like business level partnerships, and you start talking like diamond level and things like that? Is that usually more popular in the corporate side, or is that more, like you said, or just cumulative over the individual supporting over a lifetime?
We actually have a lot of just individuals that donate that amount over their lifetime, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And then we have our corporate levels, especially when it comes to convention and just regular day-to-day sponsorships.
Okay, very, very
Yeah.
cool. So easy enough. And all that can be found on the website. And the website again.
www.nwtf.org.
Perfect, easy enough. And we'll have that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. I think I've learned just about as much today as I have working with you for the past several years. But awesome stuff. NWTF's a great organization. They do a ton of work at national, state, and local level. So a ton of stuff to get involved in for people out there that want to get involved that way.
Mhm.
And I think I'm definitely excited to hear about this. I knew you were going on this turkey hunt. And I was like crossing my fingers you guys would get one, because we can hear any turkey story you want to tell. But I definitely want to start with your most recent successful hunt in South Dakota. Tell us about that. Like
Yeah,
every detail, I want
so
to hear.
we me, my dad, and my husband Andy, we headed out and drove the 27 hours from Georgia out to the Black
Good
Hills
grief.
of South Dakota. Call us crazy, but I really wanted to experience that um different in landscape and get to see the scenery that you just don't get to see when you fly. And so we decided to fly out, and me and my husband had tags for the Black Hills in South Dakota. And my dad had one just in case for Wyoming, in case we got it done quick over there in South Dakota. But spoiler alert, he did not get to use that tag. And so we drove up to the gate at 6:30. We got to watch the sunrise over Badlands. That was absolutely phenomenal. Um,
Awesome.
but that day it was supposed to be 90 degrees, which in South Dakota in May is unheard of.
Yeah.
So we knew it was going to be a struggle. We knew the birds might not be acting right, and they were not. They were not doing the Miriam's thing and gobbling all day, and making it easy on us. And the rest of the week, it kind of started dropping Tuesday night, and we finally roosted some birds and got on them on Wednesday morning, but they would not cooperate. They were kind of pulling the Eastern card and gobbling a couple of times on the roost, flying down and shutting up. So we had our work cut out for us for sure. But on Wednesday afternoon, the rain was kind of moving in. It was getting down in the temps, and the wind was really starting to howl. And so we were driving around trying to get on a bird, and we were just driving down this road, and we happened to look over, and there was three longbeards out in the field. Happened to be on private land. And the old saying is, no matter how much land you got, they're always going to be on somebody else's. And
That's it.
so, the Black Hills is 1.2 million acres and they're on private land. But they are surrounded by public land, so we knew that there was a possibility that we could get them to come to us. But it was getting a little later in the day, and we moved on to somewhere else, and then we came back and tried to roost them, and they were roosted about 10 yards behind somebody's house with their peacocks
What's up, guys? It's Aaron, and this episode is brought to you by our official partner, Dead Nuts Outdoors, makers of the most realistic 2D archery targets out there. Let's face it, dots on a block don't prep you for the real hunt. Dead Nuts targets feature Ultra HD realistic life-size animal targets with clearly marked vital zones, so you're training for clean, ethical shots in real-world scenarios every time you shoot your bow with these things. They're durable, foldable, and easy to set up, perfect for the backyard or take to hunting camp with you. Whether it's elk, whitetail, mule deer, antelope, bighorn sheep, bears, or turkeys, Dead Nuts has a target that will prepare you to fill whatever tag you have in your pocket this upcoming season. Want to take your practice even further? Check out Vital X, their augmented reality tool that lets you analyze your shot in 3D on actual internal anatomy of your target species. And here's the deal. You're going to get 10% off at deadnutsoutdoors.com/discount/Prayin and Slayin. That's Prayin, the and symbol, Slayin. And Dead Nuts is going to kick a portion back of every purchase from that link to our Veterans and Conservation Support Mission at Light the Fire Outdoors. They're just amazing partners. I can't say enough about these guys. So head over to deadnutsoutdoors.com/discount/Prayin and Slayin, Prayin, and symbol Slayin, and get yourself a Dead Nuts target, guys. Summer shooting season's here. Time to practice for the upcoming season. Tags are starting to get drawn, so get excited and practice how you hunt and hit it dead nuts. Now let's get back to the episode.
And so we knew right where they were. We figured we could make it happen. So I just made the decision to get my rain gear on Thursday morning and drug Andy along with me in the 38 degrees, raining and sleeting with 20-mile-an-hour winds. And he ended up calling this bird in, but it was crazy. We sat down under these Douglas fir trees, and for those of you that don't know, they shelter you pretty well from the rain. So we stayed dry while it was raining all around us, but they gobbled a little later in the morning than we had heard the rest of the week. And the birds that we were there on actually gobbled one time, and that was it. When the peacocks started the first time, they gobbled. But this bird that I killed, he was actually on a different ridge top, and he was actually in a better position for us to come in off of the public land, and we were separated from him by a dirt road, a pretty busy dirt road, and we're surrounded by houses, which was really strange to me. Being here in Georgia, that's not somewhere where we're going to find birds usually. But in South Dakota, it's like 220 yards from a house, and we were well over that, and we were actually nestled up by a creek, and it's super cool, beautiful place. And he gobbled about 25 times, and he found him a hen, and she was mad enough at Andy's calling that she brought him right into me at 16 yards. And
No kidding.
yeah, we got it done. But he literally, when they started down the mountain, somebody was driving out from their house, I guess, to go to work, and he waited for them to leave. He gobbled and then crossed the road right after they left. So that was really cool to me. Definitely something I've never experienced.
Yeah, for
But
sure. He definitely just used to people. Let the people do their thing, and then when they're out of the way, I'll go do my thing. That's pretty awesome.
exactly. And that was not only my first Miriam's, but it was my first public land bird. And it was
Whoa.
my first bird without my dad sitting by my side. So it was a little bittersweet, but super happy that Andy was there and called him in for me. And dad was just down the road listening, waiting for the shot. So he sent us a text and said, "Was that you?" And I was like, it was. And so he came on in, and we took a bunch of pictures and then tried to get Andy a bird, but it was a little brutal out there the rest of the day. It was getting colder and raining, and the wind was picking up. So he did not end up taking a bird, but he ended up seeing a couple of hens and a jake that afternoon. Uh, but he went home with some tag soup, and so did my dad. So
Well,
it was
hey, sounds like it was a good hunt all around either way. Definitely
it,
exciting. And then I think I don't know, I would rather have the hunt just get done period and put a tag on something personally, but it's like I guess maybe the older I get or whatever, there is a little something though to that one that just drags out a little bit. You got to try over and over and over and it plays out. So that's pretty
Yeah.
incredible. And you had a 90 degrees to 38 degree swing. That's
Yeah.
insane.
And
Holy
when we
cow.
got up on Friday morning, it was 34. It was sleeting and snowing and 40-mile-an-hour winds. And Andy was like, "Yeah, I'm not going in that." So,
Yeah, that's intense. Well, and
um,
good luck finding the birds, man. Miriam's, they're just a different turkey than Easterns. It's for people who maybe never hunted the different species, it kind of seems like a turkey would be a turkey. But when we moved to, I don't only hunted Easterns when grew up in Iowa, and then our first duty station was in Virginia. So you got Easterns in both those states, and they kind of act the same for the most part. They do their thing. They're kind of aggressive. You can decoy them in whatever. But then I moved to Montana, and
mhm.
it's a whole different ballgame with the Miriam. They're different. It's kind of just what mood they're in that day. It's like
Yeah,
they're not a consistent bird to hunt either. Like one day, I feel like even weather not being a factor, they just might do this one day and they might do that another day. And it doesn't ever seem like I found a rhyme or reason on exactly how to make something work. It's just more about their mood that day, what they want to do, how much they want to talk. Like you said, I've been on a hunt where they just won't shut up. They gobble all day, but they won't respond to your call at all. They're happy doing what they're doing. They're talking to you back and forth.
yeah,
They just no interest in coming in. And then I've had a handful of other times that they're dead silent. You don't know they're there until all of a sudden they're on top of you, and then they decide to gobble, and you're like,
yeah,
okay, I guess we're playing this game now. So
for
it's pretty
sure.
awesome. And you guys sounds like you got the mix of about every Miriam experience I've heard of all wrapped up into one hunt. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and let me tell you, coming from almost being at sea level here where we are, and hunting, I think the highest me and Andy actually hunted was at like 6,500. That was a challenge, for sure. Trying to
Yeah.
chase them up a mountain and trying to get in front of them, it's insane how fast they can move up those hills, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, and they are a quick bird, man. Yeah, there's no lie there. They're fast. They'll get out of there, and even in the quote unquote flatter areas, if you're working coulees or whatever, which are like the more
Mhm.
inverted mountains I call them, but the ability of those birds just to move across their landscape and just
Yeah,
disappear is mind blowing. Like, and again, they're kind of like I guess maybe it's better fit that they're a Western bird because mule deer kind of do that too. They just move across the landscape.
yeah,
Elk do it. So I guess that's what they're built for. But it is pretty insane. And then, like you said, if you're not ready for it or you haven't, it is a different ball game, and they're not living
it is.
on. It's not even like gradual hills or like
Yeah.
vertical. So
Exactly. I think
makes
that's
it tough.
about the only place we saw them was just on those straight up ledges and
Yep.
it or those few we saw out in the field, but every other one we saw or dealt with was in a steep spot. So
Yep.
it was a challenge.
That's definitely a challenge. Well, I'm glad you got it done. That's super
Yeah.
exciting. I saw that post come up like what 2 days ago or whatever. I was like, oh yes, like
Yes.
we're gonna hear that story on this podcast. That's awesome.
Yes, it was so much fun, and something about out west, it's a challenge nonetheless, but you get up at 3 a.m. and you get to watch the beauty of the sunrise from the top of those hills, and it's just something special for sure. And then you go to bed at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. and get up and do it all over again. So it was a hard week, but super gratifying just getting to be in some new landscape and get to watch the different creations that God has given us. So,
Oh man, you bet. And it is incredible. There's just something different about. I mean, the crazy part is, we're here in Texas now. We just left Maryland. It's like every place you go, you see that sunrise, you see that sunset. When you're out in the field, it doesn't matter. You're like, oh, this is awesome. Like,
yeah,
so glad we're out here and like so just enjoying God's creation. But then you get out west and there's just something a little different. I don't know if it's like I've been trying to figure out what it is. 'Cause I've never seen a bad sunrise or a bad sunset, but there's just something different out there. The way the reds work and the oranges work, but I think it's just half of it is you can see so much more of the sky. Like Montana is
yeah,
big sky country, but like good luck finding a tree. That's I think that you just see more of it. So it's like
yes,
more magnificent, I guess. But
for
that
sure.
was my favorite part. I think about being out west there too. And yeah, South Dakota's on my bucket list for getting out there. I got a few buddies out there that do some stuff, and they do some like Old West invitational turkey hunts and things. So definitely want to try to get out there and do the turkey hunting thing. But yeah, Miriam's, man, there. I don't know if I've ever figured them out. My first hunt I did on turkey out there was on a Miriam was I drew a tag. There was one of four tags that got drawn in the unit I was in Montana, and now it's an open unit. They've actually had enough of a population boost that it's open to everybody now. But anyway, a Region 4 Montana tag. And I went out there and I'm thinking straight Eastern birds. I've got to be sneaky. I've got to do all, like, don't move, like all this stuff. And I spent, it's on YouTube. I spent about a bit of 4 or 5 hours just getting rained on in my rain gear and just wet and miserable and doing as sneaky stuff as I could. Finally, make it like the birds are going. There's this one strutting, and every time he would turn and have his fan facing me, I would like crawl towards him, and then he'd
Yeah.
do it. And I finally got into range and shot it and made it happen. And like, I don't know, 50, 60 birds all came out, and it was right behind a barn. So it was in like some farm ground. All these birds come out and they start beating them up and all that stuff. And so I stand up to, like, shoo them off, and they all kind of just look at me, and I'm 30 yards away. And I'm like, that's weird. And then I stand upright, like get all the way up, and they still just kind of look at me, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I start walking at them,
Exactly.
and they just kind of like, as I got to about 15 yards, they decided that was a little too close, and that I literally could, I think I could have walked out there and just shot one at 15 yards probably. And then, so anyway, I get my bird taken care of, same thing, all the pictures and stuff, shooting video, get him back to the truck. Well, about that time, the farmer owns, he was on, they call it block management out there. So you can like
Mhm.
sign into a box and go hunt kind of thing on
Yeah.
private. And anyway, yeah, this farmer gets out there and he's feeding his cows, and these turkeys all come out of the woods and they're all just hanging out with them. I'm like, I was hunting farm bird. Like, it was like a whole different ball game, but it was the
Yeah.
same thing. They were gobbling the whole day in the rain. It was cold and miserable, but they were all strutting. I mean, it was a really cool like experience, but they were just weird. And then I had other ones where if it's raining, good luck. Like, you're not gonna find them. But yeah, it's a cool bird to be chasing. I think they're about the prettiest turkey that's out there. So having that white fan on the wall is like a pretty proud moment. Like, I really like those ones.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. I said if I got a bird this year that I was gonna do the framed feathers.
Oh yeah,
And so I'm gonna give that a try. I've got somebody that's given me some assistance on how to do it, so I'm really excited to see how that turns out.
very cool. Yeah, send me some
Yeah.
pictures if you get that done. I've
Yeah.
never done that yet. I've just ever since I was young and started, hunting turkeys, I've always just done the fans. Like every year, no matter what the bird is, I'll do the fan on it. But yeah, the
Yeah.
Merriams are cool. But I've seen those framed ones; those are pretty sweet. I'm
Mhm.
excited to see that. And if you have any
Yeah.
tips, maybe I'll try that on my next one if I get a chance.
For
So
sure.
we'll try it out. Well,
Yeah.
very cool. We definitely got some time. If you I want to hear like your favorite turkey hunt you've ever been on. Maybe this was it. And if it was, you got to pick your second favorite. But like, what's your favorite turkey hunt you ever been on? Let's hear that story.
I have got a lot for sure, but
I've
I
got
think
21 options here.
um when me and Andy started dating, he had never gone turkey hunting. And so we quickly figured out that that was going to have to change because it's
Yeah.
such a
Did
huge
you did
part
you
of my
get him
life.
into hunting?
I not hunting altogether, but turkey
Okay.
hunting, yes.
Okay.
And so it took us 4 years, but we finally got him a bird. But the hunt before his first bird is my favorite. It was opening morning here in Georgia, and it was, you know, not like our previous years because, we have been going through that decline. But we were kind of in an uptick year. So we really heard lots of birds. We were on them, first thing in the morning. And we were super excited because the year before we really hadn't heard many birds at all. And we actually heard like four or five that morning just on this little spot we were on. And um he was up. We were trying to get him a bird first, and so we got set up, and this bird, all he had to do was walk down the mowed road, and as soon as he rounded the bend, he would have seen the decoy come right in. And that would have been that, right there at 20 yards. But this bird, we had my dad behind us at like 40 yards, um, calling. And this bird decided that he was going to skirt around us and go to my dad. Well, I'm sitting there videoing it, and I can tell he's kind of making a move off to the right hand side. And I shifted, I put the camera down, and I grabbed my gun, and I got set up left handed. And I've never shot anything left handed before. and he walked out at 41 yards, and I shot him left-handed. So that was, I think that's my favorite one because in the video you can't see anything, but you can hear me go, "I'm sorry," and then the click of the safety and the shot.
That's awesome.
And then the next morning, I called him and dad a double. So
No
that,
way.
yeah, he's done something I haven't, and that's double up with my dad. So
Well, heck yeah.
it was
Hey,
super exciting weekend. It's something about those Easterns, their gobble just really vibrates your chest when they get in that close, and it's just super amazing. But I think the difference that I noticed in between Easterns and Miriam's is you gotta call a lot more. Um,
hmm.
and it almost felt wrong out there in South Dakota how much we were calling. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, here in South Georgia, especially, that bird we were on that I killed, he my dad would, call every once in a while, and once he answered, you shut up. That's it.
Yep.
But you can't do that with those Miriams. So that was different for
No,
sure.
you're exactly right. And yeah, the Eastern, I don't know if it's just the terrain that they're in. I mean, if it's like if they can hear you, they know where you're at. And
Yeah.
they're gonna either come in or they're not. They're gonna kind of make up their mind. But you almost gotta tease them with curiosity. And
Yeah.
it's just a different game. And but yeah, they'll cover a long distance too off one call. Where
Oh
those
yeah.
Miriams, it's like I don't know what they're if they got more of a goldfish attention span or the terrain. With the one thing I've noticed with them is if they are talking, like the whole flock is talking. The hens are going nuts all the time. There's no real lapse it seemed like in the vocalizations that the birds are making. So maybe they just communicate a lot more. And I've thought about that. I don't know if it's like I said, they just maybe they're where they got to talk a little bit more, figure out where they are on the other side of the ridges, or who knows what. But yeah, they definitely talk a lot more. That's for sure. But yeah, coming from an
Yeah.
eastern hunt, it would feel really weird. Keep them interested. You got to keep their attention because it's like something else will move and they'll just move off that direction, and that'll be that. So
Yes, for sure.
no, that's pretty incredible. Smacking hit what would have been maybe his first bird, but you had the opportunity. You got to take it. You don't want to eat that tag soup. So
No, and that was the second time I had shot one off of him. So it was definitely kind of
he's
that's
like,
that's why that I'm sorry was in there. I was like, I'm fixing to do it to you again. But um he was actually the first person that married into our family to kill a bird.
no
We
way.
always joke and say that there was some kind of curse because my mom, who hunted with my dad for 20 something years before she finally just said she was never going to kill a bird. So she got close, but could never make it happen. And he finally, we say he broke the curse. So,
He broke the curse. That's it.
yeah.
Heck yeah, man. Well, you're still one upping him though. You didn't get that Miriam, so now he's got to go out again.
Yep, he does. Um, But yeah, super excited to get him back out there, and then we got to move on to some Rios and head down to Florida
There
soon.
you go. Awesome. I was just gonna ask that. You got any future trips or trying to get the Miriam again? Or you said Rio's in Florida. You got like 26, 27 plans, or what are you trying to do that way?
I don't have anything planned yet. Next year, I am hoping to get back out west, go visit a friend out in Colorado. So if we can get on some Rios out there and get him his Rio, I actually got my Rio back in 2014 out in Texas. So I've
Okay.
got my Rio, but I will definitely be getting another one if the chance presents itself. So,
You
um,
bet.
and then we're trying to do public land, Florida. So we're just waiting on a draw at this point. So whenever
Okay.
that comes is when we'll head down.
Packing the bags and heading a little bit closer drive than South Dakota or even Texas for you. That's for sure. Well,
Yes, for
it's
sure.
you got a Rio. So did you notice any difference with the Rios? I've seen a couple out here, just on the side of the road, running up and down fence lines that I haven't had a chance to hunt them. Are they different than Miriam's and Easterns or?
So I say they're the easiest thing I've ever hunted.
Oh,
We were done with my Rio within an hour of
no.
getting out there to the land. It was a private spot that, I've got a lot of family out there that were farmers, and so we had a lot of land to use, but we were out there and they came straight in it was super easy. They gobbled all the way in. He strutted in, and that was that. It was super easy. Um, and I've heard Miriams are easy, and well, I haven't found an easy Miriam in the week that I was out there, so it's hard
I've
for
heard
me
the
to
same
believe.
thing. Yeah, when we moved to Montana, I don't know how many people told me, "Well, good, you're not going to have a hard time killing a turkey," and you can get, I think in Montana, you can get one tag for each region, or at least one tag. So it's like you can get, I think, I don't have to go back and look at the regs now, but it's like 6 or 7 turkey tags. So you're thinking, oh, they got to be easy.
Wow.
I didn't have a single easy Miriam hunt. I mean, I found out of my first one, I could have had an easy hunt that day, but then other than that, though, I mean, it wasn't. There's nothing easy about it. So I don't know what turkeys they're
Yeah.
hunting, but I haven't found an easy one yet. That's
I
plenty
don't
on
know
Rios.
either.
There's nothing to it. Call once, sit down at the truck, and let them come in. So
Yeah. Rio's, I will say that one was easy. I have not had an easier bird at all. Everything else I've had to kind of work for, but that one was super easy.
well, that's awesome. I'll have to try to, I think next spring, I'll have to do a little bit more planning. We're finally feeling a little bit more at home here and getting settled in. So I've got to do
Good
my
deal.
hunting research now, but see if maybe I can't find a spot to go. I know several people down here. Maybe I can get linked up with somebody that's got some birds or something. But if not, I'd like to try to get some kind of public thing done. And I've seen them on a couple tracks, like around the lake that we live near, that it looks
Mhm.
like it's public hunting. I don't know if it's deer only or what. But anyway, we'll try to get a Rio while I'm down here and figure that piece out. But well, very cool. You got a slam in your future? Are you like working on trying to get the whole slam done?
I'm working on my Grand Slam. I think that'll be it for me.
Okay.
I don't think I see Mexico for Goulds or anything in my future or the oscillated. So I think I'm going to stop at the Grand Slam. But I'm going to try and get it all done on public land, which until a
Heck
couple
yeah.
of years ago when we moved up here, I had never hunted public land just because there was so much opportunity down there to, have family friends who had private property for us to hunt on. So
Yeah.
but now that's kind of my goal. I still have yet to kill an Eastern up here on public. They are a doozy up here. A lot of pressure and they're really smart birds. So
Oh yeah. No, I've heard that where you guys are at, the public land is just really tough to get it done. And like I think, like you said, a lot of the pressure and stuff. But if you ever get anywhere else that I've been, just hit me up. Well, I've only hunted public land most of the places I've been, so there's birds there. But I think the biggest trick that I found is get out there during the week. So if you have the opportunity to, maybe Sean will let you go early or something on a Tuesday, like let the birds settle down on Monday and then get out there Tuesday, Wednesday. It seems like that's kind of the sweet spot. They're a little bit more comfortable, and
Yeah.
but man, I got hammered in Maryland. I went out opening day of turkey season on public. And if it's deer season, like for all of archery, there may be one, maybe two other cars in the parking lot on this piece I hunted. So I'm like, oh, I'm expecting the same for turkeys, to be honest. No, every parking lot was loaded. Like I'm like, I got
Wow.
out there a little bit late because the daycare schedule of dropping our kiddo off kept me out there well after sunrise. And I was like, I'm not even going to go in there because number one, I don't want to. I felt like I was going to screw somebody else's hunt up because you don't know where they're at, or how far they
Yeah.
are and whatever. Anyway, but I was pulling up to the last parking lot, and two Toms just came walking right out of they were hanging out in the parking lot, and they just walked right out across the road and onto private. And I was like, well, there's probably the only two birds that were still left. They're walking onto private now. So, but yeah, it
Exactly.
can be tough, man. That's for sure. With all that pressure, especially on the East Coast, it's so popular out there.
It is.
Turkey hunting is such a big thing and pastime that everybody wants to be involved in it. But yeah, if I
Yes.
had a piece of advice, I'd like go during the week, get the park ranger schedule. You work weekends, you hunt during the week. So that
Yep.
never seems to fail.
Yeah, we've tried. I do have, you mentioned Sean. He does give us a little bit of flexibility during turkey season, but I get those morning hunts in, and you got to be out by 8 to get back and on for work. But um, it's they are super used to just about everything. Calling wise, you just kind of have to know where they're going and try and get in front of them. And public land birds don't gobble a whole lot, so
Yep, yep.
it's super tricky. But I will say they kind of heated up this year, and I really hunted late this year. I didn't even get started until a couple weeks before I left for South Dakota on public. And I did get on a couple of birds, just never got close enough to seal the deal. So maybe next year.
That's it. Well, hey, a day without tick bites in the turkey woods without a bird is still better than one without. So
Yes. for sure.
That's incredible. If you had to close it out, if you had one turkey hunting tip with all your 21 to almost 22 years of experience here, what would you say is your number one tip for being successful in the turkey woods?
Patience.
Patience, yeah.
Patience. Well, I'll say patience if you're hunting Easterns. Be patient. Patience kills birds, and he knows you're there. If you've called to him and he's answered, he knows you're there.
That's smart. I like it. Yep,
Yeah.
100%. Well, very cool. Well, to get people to check you guys out right after the podcast, remind us again of the merchandise management team. If you guys remind us your email and where everybody can find your guys' website again.
Yeah, so our merchandise management email is mm@nwtf.net, and then our website is www.nwtf.org.
Awesome. Well, very cool. Well, Baylee, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so stoked that you got your first Miriam, and excited to hear more stories coming up when you get your Florida tag and your other birds here. So definitely excited. Make sure you're not always out shooting your husband, because you don't want to deter him from getting out there and getting into the woods with you. But no, very
Yeah.
cool. Thank you so much for coming. Anybody that's out there, get involved with NWTF. They're a great organization. Definitely get involved with a local chapter, or at least go to a banquet. And I think your ticket comes with a membership, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It comes with the meal and the membership.
There you go. So yeah, go eat
Yep.
some good food, watch some dudes battle it out over a shotgun for a good cause, and just have a
Yep.
good time talking turkeys, man.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later, Baylee.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Well, there you have it, guys. Baylee Taylor with NWTF, working on the merchandise management team. She and her team are in charge of bringing all the really cool custom items in from companies all over the outdoors industry to fundraise with at NWTF. So always be on the lookout for new exciting things year after year. That team does a great job of making sure they have some awesome stuff to get you excited to be at a local banquet. The merchandise management team's email address will be listed in the show notes. If you're a company listening and you want to get involved with these guys, or maybe reach out to see if you have something they can help showcase for you, we'll have that there. And then anybody looking to just get involved with NWTF, you felt called to be a part of their mission, lots of membership options and ways to get involved with local, state, and national level events. NWTF.org, that website will be listed in the show notes as well. And man, Baylee said it best. I love hearing turkey hunting stories, and I love that she said one of her favorite parts of being out west there was just seeing the glory of God in the sky. And I don't think there's any truer words that a sportsman could speak, and I don't think anyone would ever argue it either, that one of their favorite parts is being out there, seeing the sunrise, seeing the sunset, and just being a part of the beginning and end of the day and everything that happens in between. And David said it in Psalms 19:1, 1 and 2. The heavens proclaim the glory of God, the skies display his craftsmanship. Day after day they continue to speak, night after night they continue to make him known. Man, and I don't know if you can look up at the sky and not feel just in awe on an awesome sunset or an awesome sunrise and just be like, wow, like there's just got to be something bigger. And I think God talks to us a lot that way, guys. So anyway, with that, get out there, do something good for somebody. Check out NWTF, and we can't wait to bring you another episode of the Prayin and Slayin podcast coming here soon. With that, guys, I'm going to leave you to it. So keep praying and slaying.